So today we're discussing nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is defined as all behaviors other than language that communicate information. Most meaning and emotion are communicated nonverbally, but some nonverbal communication is ambiguous. So we might be able to tell from someone's facial expressions when they're angry or happy, but sometimes we can't tell. Maybe when they look away, for example. If somebody sees me and looks the other way, that could mean a lot of different things. Maybe they're unhappy with me, but also maybe they're shy around me. Nonverbal communication is relational and influenced by culture and gender. This means that interaction adaptation theory suggests that individuals simultaneously adapt their communication behaviors to others. So sometimes we might take on mannerisms that family members or friends have, like yawning, for example, is contagious. If you see somebody yawn, you're more likely to yawn. Also, using your hands to speak. If your father uses his hands to speak, you're more likely to use your hands to speak. And other nonverbal behaviors like the saying three. If you are German, you show your friend the number three by using these three fingers. If you're in the United States, you usually go like this, probably go like this. Mixed messages occur when nonverbal cues are not congruent with verbal messages. So we probably have experienced this in our lives when a significant other might say, no, it's fine, but they're not being warm to you. They're telling you that something is fine verbally, but their nonverbal is saying that it's not fine. Other types of nonverbal communication include haptics, which is touch communication. And we can communicate a lot through touch, such as support, appreciation, inclusion, affection, or playfulness. We also use touch to direct behavior, like uh, you might grab your child to point them in this direction, or ritualistically shaking hands at mass, and to perform tasks. So we might touch to hand a tool from one person to another. Proxemics is the study of space and how people use, manipulate, and identify their space. So this is interesting. Different cultures vary in the degree to which they expect proximity in a conversation. My experience in France, I lived in France for 3 months, and the French are what Seinfeld would call close talkers. They get closer to you and than a typical American, which is a further distance. Um, it's more intimate, and for an American, can feel a little bit threatening, um, but also maybe more personal. So it depends on how you perceive it. But I perceived it as it felt a little awkward when a French person was in my um, of a closer distance having a normal conversation. So this is personal space, which is the distance we put between ourselves and others. This varies from person to person, but also, as I mentioned, culture to culture. And territoriality is our sense of ownership of that space. So even as humans, we have this kind of animalistic territoriality about us. You might notice that in a classroom, you often will sit in the same seat each class, even though at the university level there are no assigned seats. You feel a sense of territoriality about that particular seat. And you might feel some type of way if you come to the class and somebody's in your seat when you've sat in that seat 5 or 6 class periods prior. Chronemics is the study of a person's use of time in dialogues and relationships with others. So, somebody who is quick to respond, to tell a joke, might be more likely to get a laugh because they came up with something witty off the cuff. Um, Whereas somebody who takes 10 minutes to come up with a retort or a comeback has probably lost the opportunity for humor. So the study of time or understanding time in communication is significant. Our physical appearance, our style, and our expressions are also aspects of nonverbal communication. Physical appearance encompasses all of the physical characteristics of an individual, including their size, their skin color, their hair color and style, their facial hair, and their facial features. So, as um, humans, we make meaning from these different things, sometimes stereotypes and judgments. Body artifacts such as clothes or jewelry communicate social status and group identification. For example, somebody who wears Vans might associate themselves with skateboarding or board sports of some kind. So you might see that they're wearing a Vans t-shirt and Vans uh, shoes, and that symbolizes to you that this person, you might describe them as, quote, a skater. Other brands communicate different things like um, maybe high social class. While cultures differ in interpretation of beauty, attractive people are often viewed as more intelligent and friendly due to what we discussed prior as the halo effect. So again, this is a positive bias when if you're attractive, people are more likely to think that you're smart and polite, which is interesting. They associate these positive characteristics with you until proven otherwise. Facial communications express our feelings and emotions, so we have difficulty shielding or controlling our facial expressions. These are the most telling of our actual feelings about a topic or issue. We talked a little bit before in this class about micro expressions or microaggressions. These are like the initial response that you have to a concept or an idea. Um, it's used in by the CIA and other groups who are trying to detect deception. They really look at those micro expressions, the initial facial communication from one of their interviewees to understand whether they're being deceptive or not. Sometimes when they're using cameras, they're looking at that first millisecond or 2 milliseconds when you show the image of the bombed area. They want to see, does this person look gleeful in their face when they see their work, or do they look uh, sad, right? So also in like murder um, cases, the detectives will show the potential uh, the potential criminal the image, and if they get glee out of it, like, yeah, that's my handiwork, initially, then that's the instinct that they tend to trust. That initial facial communication communicates a lot because we have difficulty hiding that first moment, masking that first moment. Several moments in, we can uh, change that glee to sadness. We can fake facial expressions, but the initial moment is very telling. Eye contact has the most communication potential. We can communicate a lot with our eyes, attraction, um, that we're paying attention. And smiling is one of the most recognizable nonverbal behaviors worldwide. So I've always kind of tried to guess why smiling is representing our want to be liked or want to be attractive. And I don't know it to be true because it's universal. It goes across all cultures uh, that we know of, but maybe it represents health. Like you're trying to be attractive, you're showing your teeth that you're healthy, that you're well fed, and I'm just thinking about going back to like caveman times. Why would smiling demonstrate um, that I'm approachable? Because it's very close to snarling when we show our teeth, which is like what a dog does to demonstrate that they're dangerous. So smiling to me is an interesting, trying to understand why smiling has these meanings today is kind of interesting, and maybe we could consider that in a online discussion today. Voice is also an aspect of nonverbal communication. So here we're not talking about the language used, but instead the way somebody uses the language. Vocalics is the study of voice, not the study of language. So you might make different meaning from me if I use a higher pitch. You might make assumptions about me. If I talk really fast like this, you might make a different assumption. If I'm yelling like this, you make a different assumption. That one might be that I'm angry if I'm yelling. Inflection can change the meaning of a message. So hear these two messages and explain and think of how they're different. Inflection can change the meaning of a message. Inflection can change the meaning of a message, right? So the latter is more like a question. Also, tempo is a vocal quality. For example, if I talk like this and walk like this and speak like this, you might think that I have some kind of maybe spoken word or hip hop background because I'm speaking in cadence. Or maybe I sound like a preacher. So by using specific tempo or rhythm in my language, I'm signaling that I want you to think of the way that I use my words as not just speech, but creative in some other way or meaningful in some other way. Vocal segregates like and or silence are also vocal qualities. Silence is obviously the best option rather than filling in our blank spaces with these ums and ers. Silence is also greatly communicative. It can signal to someone that you are being thoughtful about what they're saying. It can also similarly signal that you're not paying attention at all. Paralanguage includes vocal characteristics like crying, laughing, groaning, muttering, whispering, and whining. So, crying obviously signifies that you are sad, laughing, happy, or you found something funny, groaning, maybe you're in pain, muttering, maybe you're um, unhappy about something. If you're muttering under your breath, maybe you're annoyed. If you're whispering, probably it's whatever you're saying, you don't want everyone to know, so it's a bit of a secret. And if you're whining, you are maybe demonstrating unhappiness or displeasure.